Part 30. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 291. Chapter 291, Desire is hard to satisfy. Mr. Tan, who was at home, was not idle either and quietly left the house. Xiaoji knew that she had gone out, but could not find out where she had gone. The carriage left the city and arrived at Fanghua Temple. With a serious expression on his face, Mr. Tan walked into the Zen room with only Mrs. Zhou. After she woke up, she asked Mrs. Zhou to deliver the letter in a tough tone. So, he will come. The last time I came here was a long time ago. The house is still the same as before, with only a few simple pieces of furniture, but each piece is extraordinary. On the case, there was burning incense. Mr. Tan knew about that thing, and it was no exaggeration to say that every inch of incense was worth every inch of money. Even she couldn't bear it. Mr. Zhou is as extravagant as ever. That man has jade hairpins and a blue cloth. Thin face, single eyelids, no wrinkles. In front of him was a purple clay tea set made by a famous artist. When Mr. Tan came in, he ignored it. It seems that nothing in this world is more important than the tea set in your hand. Tanchi sat down and looked at him. After coming out of the Bai family, she always asked herself, what would have happened if she had not met him. At that time, at Tanchi's plea, Mrs. Bai agreed to stay. The mother and daughter first checked into the guest room and washed several large buckets of water. Manager Yao had people bring new clothes and new shoes. Han smells good and her hair is smooth. For the first time in her life, Tan Yanling looked like a human being. Subsequently, Manager Yao arranged a small courtyard for Tanxia in Xi'an City and sent 2 women to serve her. Tell her that firewood, rice, oil, salt, etc. will be delivered on time. Every month, there is also monthly money. Tanxia cried again and excitedly told her daughter to serve Mrs. Bai and Mr. Bai well. At that time, Tan Yanling felt that she had gone to heaven and nodded solemnly. She stayed in the villa, living in an exquisite courtyard, and was cared for by a maid. But at that time, she did all her own things. It was neatly tidied up all day long, and the inside and outside of the house were cleaned. There are many girls in the Bai family, and there are countless unworn clothes and shoes. It was all given to her, but she was not used to wearing it. The shoes were too soft and the skirt was cumbersome. Every time I put it on, the girls will laugh for a long time. She didn't understand. She didn't know that people were laughing at her, so she laughed along with them. But even if she knows, she doesn't care. Even in front of them, he licked the eating plate clean. Every day, she would run to Mrs. Bai's house, and work with the girls regardless of whether she was needed or not. Praising Madame Bai simply and sincerely. If Mr. Bai is here, she will talk more energetically, often making Mr. Bai laugh. So, slowly, everyone seemed to like her. How can Mrs. Bai need her to serve her? Let her go to class with the girl and say hello to the gentleman, learn as she wishes without demanding too much. At this class, Tan Yanling's original cleverness and scheming were suddenly useless. Because, she found that those were useless. The girl from the Bai family, who is older than Bai Yuking, is Bai Yuzai, who is 5 years old. He is 2 years younger than her and has just started enlightenment. However, I can already write the names of all the sisters, recite poems and draw pictures. He could also say something that she couldn't understand at all. And she, even though she could catch slippery loaches, she couldn't use a pen, even she herself didn't think the words she wrote looked good. When Mr. Bai is free, he will personally check the homework of his sisters. If they do not do it seriously, he will do it himself. But when he saw her words, Mr. Bai just smiled and never said anything to her or hit her. He would comfort her, I can see that Xiao Linger works very hard. She was particularly happy and thought, Mr. Bai treats her differently. Years later, she realized that it was just that she didn't have any requirements and didn't pay attention to her. Just encouraging a poor little girl. The Bai family often holds various banquets, tea parties, flower parties, music parties. One day, at a concert, Mrs. Bai played that thing called the gukan. It turned out that she could play it so beautifully. Mr. Bai was mesmerized as he listened and watched. Tan Yanling, who was so young, didn't care what happened to her. Seeing this scene, she was very unhappy. So, she made up her mind to practice hard, but even though she worked 100 times harder than others. But still, the words are shapeless, the paintings are shapeless, the flute leaks, the singing is out of tune, and the strings always break when playing the piano. Actually, she was not as bad as she thought, but she was too eager and unlucky to meet the Bai family. At this time, she is no longer the silly girl who just came here. Be careful about how you dress and behave, and you can also command the girls appropriately. She hopes to become the real master of the Bai family and hopes to be favored by Mr. Bai. In the end, I gave up everything else and only focused on practicing calligraphy. Her handwriting was measured and practiced with a ruler. There are stupid ways to be stupid. When she was 13 years old, Mr. Bai finally praised her. Yeah. She wrote very neatly. She was very happy, and she found another way to get close to Mr. Bai. There is a large yard in the villa, where Mr. Bai works. He always does strange things. Sometimes it is necessary to mix mud, chop, clean, dry, refine, etc. Sometimes, the girls from the Bai family will come here, because there is a kiln in the back where they can bake the pottery they make. Tan Yanling was very good at the work here, and she was willing to put in the effort, so she quietly gathered around Mr. Bai. Mr. Bai started by saying, "This place is dirty and messy. Xiaoling, let's go drink tea and chat with the sisters." Tan Yanling secretly smiled. "Hey, just a poor girl like me, how can I be lucky enough to be their sister? They basically look down on me, okay. They would even speak to me properly. That time, I just told them some trivial gossip, chatting. As a result, I was severely criticized by them. It is not the behavior of a gentleman to criticize others behind their backs. Bah! I am a woman, how can I be a gentleman? Aren't you just looking down on my background and looking for reasons to run against me? What to pretend to be?" Another example, they entertain guests at home and go out as guests, but never invite themselves. And that time, I went to the Huishan pavilion to enjoy the flowers. It rained, and they asked me to come back with the girl to get an umbrella. They even said with a smile that I ran fast. Aren't I afraid of getting caught in the rain? Just make it clear that you treat me like a slave. When their sisters celebrate their birthdays, they will carefully select the gift for a long time. And for my birthday, they just take whatever they have on hand. Fool me, send me away, look down on me. She would not let go of anything no matter how small it was. It settled in her heart and turned into full of hatred. Now, she can finally be by Mr. Bai's side, which is what she wanted. Watching Mr. Bai do things every day, she felt indescribable satisfaction. Remember with your heart and help with all your strength. Push aside those who had done the trick. I don't know how long it took for this to become a habit. Xiao this was Mr. Bai's first words when he arrived. She became his right helper. Here is a place where Mr. Bai takes a temporary siesta. Tan Yanling has long been familiar with the affairs of men and women, and she even secretly looks for books to read in the Bai family's study. She will sneak into the house when no one is paying attention, lie on his bed, smell the special incense, and wish she would die on it. Because she was very good at disguising, no one in the Bai family knew. She was looking forward to him painfully and loving him hopelessly. A few years later, she was 17, and Mrs. Bai invited Tan Xia over. Mentioning her marriage. "When you're old enough, See for yourself if it doesn't work, hire a matchmaker. There are outstanding people in Zijing City, and there are many good young people. It's better to look for them early. Tan Yanling was shocked when she heard this and glanced at Mr. Bai. Tan Chuya said gently, I work at home all day long, and I really don't recognize anyone. Madam, can you please help me find a match for her? But Mr. Bai said, hey, I have a good friend who lives in Linshui and has an unmarried son at home. As soon as Tan Yanling heard this, he turned around and ran away. Mr. Bai laughed loudly, little girl, you are still shy. You have grown up after all. She went back to the room, threw herself on the pillow, and cried loudly. Later, Tan Chuya happily said to her, although Madam said she has no time to take care of your marriage and asked mother to find it for you, she will let you take everything in your house with her. And she will also give you 1,000 taels of silver, make a dowry. Oh my God, big girl. Don't call me big girl. My name is Yanling. Tan Yanling suddenly became furious. Ah, I'm so scared. What's wrong with you? 1,000 taels, back then, your father had only 30 taels, so he was going to sell you to a brothel. Shut up. Are you stupid? Can you even say this? When did that happen? Did you know about it in the previous life? If this matter is exposed, I won't even be able to marry an outstanding young man, you know? Are you so stupid, or do you even dare to look down on me? She didn't dare to curse loudly, but she couldn't get rid of the anger in her heart. She grabbed the teapot on the table and threw it to the ground. The mother-in-law outside heard the sound and came in. But he found Tan Yanling picking it up on the ground, and said with a smile, oh, I didn't catch it, it broke. Tan Chuya, who was sitting on the side, was completely stunned. Mrs. Bai finished talking to Tan Chuya about finding a husband for her and stopped mentioning it. Mr. Bai went out at the invitation of a friend. Tan Yanling was in pain and hesitant, wandering around Zijing City all day long. One day, she came home and found a note on her body. The above is a very handsome handwriting, Li Daniu, I know the details of you and your mother. We will meet at Qingfeng Tea House in 2 days. If you don't come, I will go find Mrs. Bai. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 292. Chapter 292, Wolf Heart and Dog Lung. Tan Yanling was so frightened that she didn't know what to do. In the end, she came to the tea house on time obediently. A man in his early 20s was waiting at the door. The student wears a blue cloth shirt, black cloth shoes, and holds a paper fan in his hand. With a handsome face, a smile, and a polite manner, he came up and bowed. Looks like the students you see on the street. Duntun Yanfei's hair stood on end. Who are you? She looked at him with sharp eyes. Do you really want to say this here? The smile on the man's face remained unchanged. What's the meaning? Please come this way. The man entered a private room in the tea house without hesitation. Tan Yanling's heart was beating wildly. She gritted her teeth and walked inside. The girl behind him quickly shouted, Girl! You wait here. She turned back and said sternly. Entering the private room, the man was preparing to make tea. Who are you? Tan Yanling asked in a low voice. I'm your brother, the man smiled, with white teeth. What did you say? Tan Yanling was so surprised. Same mother, half father. My name is Li Kun. 2 years ago, her mother fell ill and had a fever, so she mentioned this past to her. If the name Li Danio is mentioned, it is possible that it came from Mrs. Bai's side. No one really knows about this part. She analyzed various possibilities in her mind. Why are you here? Study tour, what a coincidence, isn't it? Li Kun smiled again, looking harmless. How could you recognize me? She asked cautiously. It seems that you also understand. Li Kun poured tea, I knew about my life experience when I was a child and went to the village to see you. You were, only 6 or 7 years old at that time, right? Wearing a broken straw hat and wearing a pair of shoes with bare toes shoes. Shut up, Tan Yanling's face turned red with anger. Li Kun put the tea in front of her. I studied here while traveling and have been living here for a while. I planned to leave. But that day, I saw you and you looked familiar, so I asked about it. Not bad, Li Daniu. He laughed a few times. You sneaked into the Bai family. It's really amazing. His current expression is no longer as student-like as before. Tan Yanling sneered, since you knew that you had another biological mother, you didn't know that her life was difficult, give her food to eat. She studied for scientific examinations, and filial piety is the highest priority. Although she has no status, she gave birth to you after all. You don't understand this. Li Kun didn't take it seriously. First of all, she is the one who gave birth to the child, and I have no reason to respect her. Secondly, who do you think I am? In the Li family, that father, that is, Li Zioki, he is the son-in-law. If he is not Mrs. Li's biological child, how can he be better? If he doesn't study well, he will be beaten when he gets home. Who can I take care of? At least, she won't. Why are you bringing this up now? The Li family is not a rich family. They have provided me with education for many years, how much more can they have? Besides, she has you, so she still needs my care? Sister. Don't call me that, Tan Yanling whispered angrily, with hatred on his face. What, you don't want to recognize me? Your mother is quite capable, she married a poor farmer, and she can still travel hundreds of miles here. How did you get here? When he asked, Tan Yanling was reminded of the darkness and filth along the way. If people knew about this experience, she would be doomed. This is none of your business. I'm not your sister. The Bai family is indeed a wealthy family, but it has nothing to do with me. So, don't expect me to support you. After saying that, he got up and left. Wait a minute. Now that I have found you, I won't leave without getting any benefits. He looked ruthless, evil, and calm. You. Why are you so rogue? Tan Yanling was going crazy. I'm a scoundrel. You, a man named Li, have gone to Bai's house to eat and live for free for many years, so you are no longer a scoundrel. Your father is still alive. Tan Yanling was stunned. Li Kun smiled, is it a surprise? That poor guy is still alive. He shook his head in disbelief. I heard that he put a lot of effort into finding you mother and daughter. Do you want me to write to you? You, and your daughter are having a good time here, everything is fine. What on earth are you going to do? Tan Yanling felt like she had murderous intentions. You also said that the Bai family is rich. But do you know? Not only are they rich, but they also have treasures. Those smelting skills, forging skills, bow and crossbow making, etc., any one of them can be enough for our brother and sister, Ronghua wealth for life. Tan Yanling thought about the things in that warehouse, and was startled for a moment. Li Kun did not miss the change in her expression at this moment, but he was not in a hurry. The prey caught my eye, so I had to surround it slowly, otherwise, it would run away in surprise and that would be the end of it. The head of the Bai family is a suave man with countless beauties. He is extremely generous. I heard that he spent 20,000 taels to redeem a prostitute who danced in the sky. Sister, you are so outstanding, why don't you plan to stay with him? This hit touched Tan Yanling's sore spot. She also heard that Mr. Bai spent 20,000 taels to redeem prostitutes outside. He also spent 20,000 taels to buy some kind of gukan as a gift to Mrs. Yaoxiang. Mrs. Bai was so jealous that she ran away from home for 2 months before being coaxed back. There are too many other rumors to mention. Yes, he is so kind to those bitches, and he can make tens of thousands of them at a time. However, he couldn't see my efforts and trying to please me. How much I had done for him. If these hands were taken good care of, they wouldn't be like this. He didn't want me, the dowry he gave me was only 1,000 taels. It's funny that my mother is so happy. There was sarcasm in her mouth, that will disappoint you. I don't have peerless looks or talents. I only come from a poor background and have to work to make ends meet. How could he like me? After saying that, he couldn't help but his eyes turned red. Li Kun secretly rejoiced, you can't say that. A foot is short, an inch is long. Sister, your advantage is, being close to the water and the terrace. This is unmatched by anyone. If you really want to, you won't be stupid. Come on, you can't even handle this, right? Tan Yanling sneered, you have the ability. Then why don't you promote the Li family? Li Kun said proudly, I am a 17-year-old scholar, how can I be prosperous? This statement is both true and false. He is indeed a scholar at the age of 17. It's a pity that later on, I was eager for quick success and got involved in a fraud case during the examination. Originally, with his ability, he would have no problem passing the exam. But he is greedy and wants to win genuine. As a result, the scandal broke out, and even the scholar's reputation was deprived of him. He had no choice but to end up here. You are looking for me because you want me to introduce you to the head of the Bai family, Tan Yanling guessed. It's not that, sister, I know a good friend, and he knows about the Bai family. After just a few words, I was moved. If I can get something from the Bai family, it will be much better than the scientific examination. Otherwise, what if we get the top prize? We can only start from the 7th level. With our background, how can we get ahead? His words made Tan Yanling feel the same way. It is because of her birth that the Bai family girls do not regard themselves as sisters. Mrs. Bai takes care of their mother and daughter just to take care of her own face. Mr. Bai, he was the person she loved with all her life, but she always regarded her as Xiao Ling without any personal feelings. Sister, you have to know. When I was in the Li family, my wife was even on guard against Li Zioki, but in the end, she was completely unprepared for me. I really earned it day by day. So, my brother is not in vain. Now that we brothers and sisters know each other, let's make a plan, okay? What's the plan? A few options. If you want to stay with the head of the Bai family, and have children in the future, I can help you think of some ideas. Tan Yanling looked at him attentively. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 293. Chapter 293 It's all in vain. Tan Yanling is somewhat smart and does not trust Li Kun. But he didn't refuse, he just said, think about it again. Li Kun wasn't in a hurry either, he just sat there and watched her leave with a smile. Back in the courtyard of the villa, Tan Yanling found that her mother-in-law was sorting out the warehouse. Normally, she wouldn't care about these things, but it was different now, so she went over to ask her mother-in-law what she was looking for. As a result, the woman said that the steward had given instructions to start packing the girls' things. She needs to do some cleaning first and put things into categories so that she can check the accounts later. Tan Yanling was ashamed and annoyed. Are you going to drive her out? Turn around and go back to the house, sit down and think about it, this will probably be the case. Since Mrs. Bai didn't want to interfere with her marriage, she would just let her live with her mother to facilitate the matchmaking. Moreover, it is impossible for her to marry from the Bai family. She is not a girl from the Bai family. This thief woman. She used the curse words she heard in the village when she was a child to curse Mrs. Bai over and over again. After thinking for a long time, there was no way out, so she had to ask her brother for help. Li Kun gave her a good thing, and she drank it into the sobering soup when Mr. Bai returned home and drank. By the time Mr. Bai woke up, things had already happened. Although all this happened when the beloved was unconscious. But Tan Yanling didn't feel aggrieved at all, but felt infinite satisfaction and happiness. As for Mr. Bai, shock, doubt, self-blame, disgust, disappointment, anger. He put on his clothes without saying a word, and then sat down. Said, "I know, it was you who did it. However, with the current result, I don't want to shirk it. I will pack it up and send you away. I will arrange the rest of your life. You will be well fed, rich in gold and silver." There was a hint of sarcasm on his lips, "but from now on, we will never see each other again." This situation was something Tan Yanling never expected. She panicked and immediately knelt in front of him. No matter what, she did not dare to admit that it was her design, but just begged, "Sir, Ling doesn't want a status, gold or silver, even if Ling becomes a real slave, as long as he is here I serve you with no regrets, please don't drive Ling away." She burst into tears. Mr. Bai's eyes were cold and unmoved. Ever since I saw him, he always had a carefree demeanor and a flamboyant laugh. Tan Yanling's current appearance was something that Tan Yanling had never seen before. She was a little stupid and murmured, "You have so many beauties outside. And I have been with you for so many years. Look at this hand." She stretched out her hand, rough and slightly deformed. "I have done so much for you, why can't you just tolerate me?" Mr. Bai looked out the window, "That's because they have nothing to do with my wife. And you were saved and trained by her. She gave you and your daughter ample food and clothing, and even sent you to get married. You just hurt her like this. What kind of thing are you? It's so disgusting." After speaking, he stood up and went to Mrs. Bai's side. At this time, Mrs. Bai was already pregnant and had already shown her pregnancy. "Madam, I'm so sorry for my husband. Everything in the past is all my fault. From now on, I solemnly swear to you, I will never do anything to hurt your heart again." And Tan Yanling was kneeling naked on the ground, feeling ashamed, hateful and afraid. What to do? Finally, her eyes turned cold, she put on some clothes, rushed out of the villa, and went to find Li Kun. Li Kun, on the other hand, smiled and said, "Ha ha. Even this doesn't work? It seems that he really doesn't have you in his heart." Tan Yanling's face turned red with embarrassment. "Why didn't you say that your method didn't work?" "My method works, but it's you who don't, but it doesn't matter, there is a way to make him submit." Li Kun had a treacherous look on his face. "Do you have any other ideas?" Although Tan Yanling was a little skeptical, she had no other choice. Li Kun took out a package of things and said, "Put this somewhere only he can go. This is a frame-up, do you understand?" "Huh?" Tan Yanling was shocked when he heard him say the word framed. "Put it away and let me know. I will take the officials to investigate. As long as this thing is found in his place, no matter how great his ability is, he will not be able to explain it. How can this be done? Then he is finished." Tan Yanling shook his head desperately. Li Kun ignored her at all. "I have arranged everything. He will indeed be cornered. But at this time, you will show your ability." He looked at Tan Yanling with a smile. "You introduce me there. Then, everything will be controlled by me. Even if I ask him to divorce his wife and marry you, he has to do it for the sake of the Bai family." He has a calculating look on his face. That picture was too beautiful. Tan Yanling calmed down and made a careful calculation, "But, will this not be able to end? Something will happen, and it's not a big deal, otherwise it's useless, but don't worry, we won't lose our heads. After all, we just want a share of the pie. We don't want to kill anyone. But, can this be done? To tell you the truth, it turns out that I was just assisting that friend in doing things. However, I didn't even tell him that we were brother and sister. Because, only in this way can I support both ends with one hand and move forward and retreat freely. What he said was practical and logical, and Tan Yanling believed it. Li Kun was still saying, if we operate properly and you marry someone named Bai, I can completely get rid of that person. In the future, if you give birth to a son, the Bai family will belong to us, brother and sister. Tan Yanling is very narrow-minded, but not very wise. She can't hear the problem here, and she still feels that everything is satisfactory. For example, in the past, the most she hoped to do was to become Mr. Bai's concubine. But if Li Kun's operation is successful, then I can become the new MRS Bai. The thought of having everything that woman has, is really worth everything. There is only one thing, he is not lying to himself, is he? Seeing her suspicious look, Li Kun felt very calm. Tan Yanling said, but I feel that no matter what, he wants my body. I will tell my mother, and then I will go to MRS Bai. My mother and I should be in harmony. If he still wants to send me away like this, let me mom, if you go to court and cause trouble. The Bai family is elegant and respects their dignity, so they will definitely be afraid of me. Innocent. If you make such a fuss, he will kill you to silence you. I'm afraid your mother won't even be able to find your body. What else can she sue for? Even if she doesn't kill you, it's true that the Bai family saved you and raised you. If you and your daughter are said to be white-eyed wolves, how can you explain it to your mother? Moreover, if he refuses to admit it and says that you don't know who you are making peace with, but you frame him, how can you prove it yourself? This. Who is the Bai family? Just you. He can trample you to death like an ant. Aren't there enough things like this in the world? You have lived a good life in the Bai family for a few years, and then you forget who you are? Li Kun looked up and down disdainfully. You are Li Daniu. You. Tan Yanling was so angry that he was so hateful. If you want to become a real Tan Yanling, you must seize the opportunity and realize it yourself instead of waiting stupidly for others to make decisions. She was convinced. I didn't think much about it anymore and just got things done when I got back. Sure enough, Mr. Bai sent someone to send her away. But she said she wanted to return to her mother and take her mother with her. Mr. Bai did not embarrass her and sent her out of the villa. She went directly to Li Kun and told him where she hid her things, and said, the Bai family has 2 secret warehouses. One is in the yard where he often works. I followed him in. There are various utensils in it. That door is not opened with a lock, but... She explained. But I haven't opened it, so I don't know if it's all there. There's also a warehouse underground, which you can enter through the secret door in his front study. That should be where you said the secret books are kept. But I haven't been there. The door should also have a mechanism. Li Kun smiled, okay, I understand. In the following days, Tan Yanling waited anxiously at home. Someone from the Bai family wanted to send her off, so she asked her mother to pretend to be sick. A few days later, she suddenly discovered that her menstrual period had not come. Suddenly, I was filled with surprises. Could it be that I am pregnant? He didn't care about anything and ran straight to the street and found a medical clinic. The old doctor in the clinic looked at the girl's dress calmly. He said calmly, you are pregnant. Tan Yanling is very happy. She is done. There is no need to plot against the Bai family anymore, she can enter the Bai family openly. Even if MRS Bai's seat is temporarily unavailable, no one can think of sending her away. Overjoyed, he went out to the villa. As I walked, I thought, there has been no movement these days. I guess Li Kun and the others are not ready yet. I quickly went to burn that thing. I can no longer follow the path he drew. I have to follow my own path. He is right, she grinned, it is better to rely on yourself than to rely on anyone else. But at this moment, there was sudden chaos on the street. Many people were running back and forth, shouting, something happened to the Bai family. In Zhejiang City, the big industries also belong to the Bai family. As soon as I shouted, I was surrounded by officers and soldiers, the adults on the street were crying and the children were shouting, and it became a mess. Tan Yanling was shocked, how could this happen? Immediately afterwards, I heard two loud noises coming from the villa, thick smoke and fire. It's over, it's over. This is how to do. Looking forward, there are many figures, and it is impossible to enter the villa. Yes, go to Li Kun and do as he says. The result was not found. When she got home, her mother heard the noise on the street and was very anxious. When he saw her coming, he pulled her over and asked her, which annoyed her to death. I couldn't stay at home, so I ran to find Li Kun again. Finally, he asked her to wait for him at the inn. But he lost the confidence and indifference that he had always had, and instead became a little angry. That idiot! I told him that there was a mechanism in the warehouse, but he didn't listen. He just had people smash it and dig it up. As a result, I don't know what was touched, but it all exploded. There was nothing left. He was furious. Going back and forth, this idiot actually blames me. Bastard, I really want to. What is he thinking? If you have no power, what else can you do? Tan Yanling also fainted and asked anxiously, but the Bai family's property is still there. We can still do what we said before. Right. Li Kun shook his head, it's not that easy. If things don't go well and I only have property, who will give it to me? Judging from the way he blames me, it would be nice if he doesn't silence me. He was shocked. I'm leaving, Li Kun said, you should also run away quickly. Don't risk your life. What? Tan Yanling couldn't believe it, so she grabbed him by the hand and said, didn't you plan everything well? How did it end up like this? Li Kun shook her head and stared at her like a snake, don't force me to attack you. Tan Yanling wanted to tell him that she was pregnant, but was frightened by his look. The Bai family is over, all adult men will be beheaded, and women will be turned into prostitutes. Although you didn't achieve your wish, you still got some relief. If you don't leave, you won't be able to leave. After saying that, he grinned. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 294. Chapter 294. Let me arrange it. Have you seen enough? Li Kun, now known as Zhou Zhongfang, asked calmly. Tan Yanling came over slowly. I've encountered a problem, and you have to help me solve it. Why do you always get into trouble? With you. Li Kun looked at her contemptuously, if you can live the life you have now, shouldn't you be chanting Buddha's name and burning incense all day long? Why do you always get into trouble? I owe what I am today to myself. There is no need to thank anyone. Tan's momentum was not weak. Yourself? So, Mrs. Ho and your mother both suffered from heart disease. Did the insiders in Nyojia village also die naturally from wildfires? Ms. Tan was extremely angry. She could never deal with this person. I have nothing to do, wait here all day to solve your trouble. Mrs. Tan looked at him bitterly and said nothing. Li Daniu, only you owe me, not me. So, please put away Mrs. Ho's arrogance. In my eyes, you will always be a firewood girl who has no reputation. Hello. Then how come you can't get any benefits and are forced to change your name? Li Kun stood up, raised his hand and gave her a mouthful. This brings Tan back to his original shape. Mrs. Tan covered her face and said bitterly, I might as well tell you, if you don't help me, You won't be able to think about it if I am unlucky. Believe it or not, I will kill you right now. Li Kun sat down and looked at her calmly. I'll kill you before anyone knows about it. No one will even find your body. But Mrs. Tan sneered, do you think I am still as stupid as before? I have left things at home. If something happens to me, you can't run away. Li Kun was unmoved. I really want to see if I can run away. I've been living in peace for too long, and I'm bored. I always have to do something exciting to keep my mind occupied. Do you want me to take it? Do you want to try it? Tan's family had nothing to do with him. She softened, I'm really in trouble. The Bai family. Bai Yuking, she's still alive. There was a hint of panic in her voice. At this moment, Li Kun became a little moved. How is that possible? How many years have passed? Yes. How many years have passed, even I haven't thought about those things much these years. Mr. Tan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Where did you see it? Li Kun calmed down. When you, Mr. Tan said with a ferocious face, Chi Xiao's wife. It was she who brought Bai Yuking from Zhangzhou to Beijing. When you opened a clothing store called Yongxiang, also called Yuzi You's restaurant. Li Kun almost wanted to laugh when he heard this. He went to that restaurant as soon as it opened. Later he went there often, and the food there was particularly to his taste. The daughter-in-law and granddaughter of the family are also Yun Xiang's customers. Damn it, what is this? Bai Yuking took care of Yun Xiang for her. A few days ago, she came to the house to measure clothes. Fortunately, I saw her at a glance and pretended to be sick and hid. She didn't see me. I feel like I'm sweating just thinking about it now. It's not because your eyesight is dim and you saw it wrong, right? How can I be wrong about the appearance of the Bai family? Oh, she ran out of the brothel and she still had the same aloof virtue. Mrs. Tan said with meanness and hatred on her face, when you also called her Master Cheng. This could it be wrong? Li Kun didn't take it seriously. What's there to be nervous about? Even if you are guilty and suspicious, you can still recognize her. But she can also recognize you. You don't even think about it. Back then, you were enjoying the autumn breeze at her house. Poor girl, she won't look at you. Now, you upright Madam Ho. She dare not look at you. To put it bluntly, even if it looked familiar to her, she was scared to death and didn't dare to think about it. But that's the Bai family. She must be able to recognize me. She also dares to say it. And that when you is not a good bird, you don't know. Okay, you have a granddaughter-in-law, and you still can't get her. I've always looked down on you, but don't be so stupid, right? Mrs. Tan was so angry that she cried, is it useful for you to squeeze me? It's not easy for us to get to where we are today. I don't have no one in my hands, but how can I dare to use them in this matter? Okay, stop talking. I'll make arrangements, just don't go on and on, Li Kun said irritably. After some time, Yuduan will come back. The Marquis will apply to the Emperor for Yuduan to take over his position. My son will be the Marquis. I will tell Yuduan that if you need him in the future, I can help you too. Tan Shi promised. Li Kun smiled and said, maybe it will be useful. When you returned home, Xiaoji told her that the old lady was out. But where he went, no one knows. So mysterious. The more this happened, the more curious Wen Yu became. He originally wanted to take a look around the house of the old lady Laba, but the Marquis was at home and the guards were very strict. Hence, Xiaoji was asked to tell Taizu, who was driving her car, that he was also driving the car and asked the old lady where her car had gone when it was convenient. But Tan's gift was not free, she had already made arrangements. The driver said, the old lady went to visit a family in the west of the city. If the investigation proves fruitless, it can only be shelved for now. On this day, when it was time to light the lamp, the young couple resumed the previous pattern. After washing up, it's time to go to bed. Chi Wuzo had been feeling anxious for such a long time, but he didn't know what to do. He looked at Wen Yu with faint eyes. And Wen Yu discovered that it was better not to make trouble with him about some things. Because it would be so troublesome. Tired? Suddenly, there was movement at the door of the courtyard. After a while, Xiao Xiang came in with hurried steps and said, "Master, Grandma, Mr. Zhang is in the front yard. He said something happened. Please come over." The two people were startled. "Did you say something?" "No, I just told you to get there as soon as possible." Chi Wu and Wen Yu looked at each other. Xiao Xiang hurriedly came up, briefly pulled back Wen Yu's disheveled hair, put on his clothes, and put on a cape. Chi Wu also dressed, supported her, and walked forward quickly. When I got to the front, I saw that Zhang Zhongqing was not sitting down, but was walking back and forth in the hall. Under the candlelight, he had a livid face. Mu Bo and Zhang Yuan stood beside him. "Brother Zhongqing, what's wrong?" Wen Yu asked. "You guys come with me quickly, Mu Bo has already pulled your carriage to the front door just now." With him like this, Wen Yu became even more worried. "What did you say first?" "Something happened to Master Qing," Zhang Zhongqing said. Ah, Wen Yu was shocked and his mind was running rapidly. Could it be that? She was stunned. Chi Wu quickly supported her, turned to Zhang Zhongqing and asked, "How is she?" "Still alive, but in very bad condition." "Come with me," Zhang Zhongqing said in a low voice. Chi Wu felt that Wen Yu's feet were weak, so he even lifted her up in a hug. Got in the car. Wen Yu didn't even know she had gotten into the car. She murmured numbly, it was her hand. Chi Wu asked, "Who is she?" "Ayu, tell me, what is going on?" Wen Yu never told him about Master Cheng. At this moment, he asked, but she didn't answer, she just thought about it in a daze. The car drove for a while before stopping. It was dark outside and it was hard to see where it was. There was someone waiting at the door, but he didn't say anything, so he went straight in, and after some twists and turns, he finally arrived at a large room. The lights inside are brilliant and very bright. As soon as I entered the door, my nose was filled with a strong smell of blood. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 295. Chapter 295 General Duan Mu. Master Cheng. When he saw Wen Yu, his legs felt weak again. On one side of the big room, there was a bedboard with a person lying on it. There were 2 or 3 people around, both men and women, who didn't know what they were doing. After the smell of blood, there is a strong smell of medicine. Wen Yu didn't care about anything and rushed to the side of the lying person. With such bright light in the room, he could only vaguely distinguish it as Master Cheng. The head was wrapped, the eyes were closed, the face was swollen, pale, and had an obvious yellowish air. The body is covered with a sheet. "Master Cheng," Wen Yu called softly, but she didn't respond at all. Chi Wu asked Labo to support her and asked the person next to him, "Is there a doctor here?" An old man next to him said, "It's just old age." "How is she doing now?" "This lady suffered serious injuries on her head and shoulders, with a lot of bleeding. Therefore, the situation is not good. The wounds have been sutured, medicine has been applied, and wrapped. Now, one is afraid of hurting the brain. The other is afraid of the high fever afterwards. Inflammation. And, there's too much bleeding, I don't know if I can handle it." When you looked at her sadly and suddenly reacted. "Doctor, thank you for your hard work. Could you please give me the pulse report?" The old doctor nodded, and a young man next to him took a thick stack of paper and handed it over. "Brother Zhongqing, please have someone follow Mu Bo to my cousin's place to see if he has the corresponding medicine. The streets will be quiet soon, and without anyone from the government to take them, there will probably be trouble. Zhang Zhongqing quickly made arrangements, and Mu Bo took the people away. Qi Wu looked around and asked, "What is this place?" "Princess Huijuan's mansion," Zhang Zhongqing said. "When you was shocked, why are you here?" Suddenly, someone spoke at the door, "Everyone, our master is here." A man walked in from outside. He was tall and strong, wearing ordinary cotton and linen clothes. He walked in casually. General Duanmu. Zhang Zhongqing saluted first and then introduced Qi Wu, "This is Mr. Qi Wu and his wife. General Duanmu is the only son of the princess. When you had heard of him before, and when he took a closer look, he was quite handsome. But he doesn't have the temperament of a noble man like Qi Wu. The expression on his face, looks like it's hard to talk to." General Duanmu said casually, "Duanmu Hui." He looked at Wen Yu specifically. At this moment, Wen Yu had no makeup on her face, only a hairpin in her hair, and no accessories on her body. Frightened, her face turned pale. But under the shadow of the lamp, the color is quite stunning. "Sit over here." Duanmu Hui pointed to another corner. A few people sat down, and Zhang Zhongqing said, "I haven't had time to say, Sister Au, it was General Duanmu who saved Master Cheng. This relationship seems a bit messy." When you looked at him and didn't know what to say for a moment. Duanmu Hui said, "Let me tell you briefly. The home of one of my subordinates is in Huishu Hutong, and he was killed in the battle 2 years ago. I returned to the capital, and I just made some time today to visit his house. Personal soldier, I went in first with my things. I met an acquaintance at the street corner, exchanged a few words with me, and then walked into the alley. So, we encountered a robbery and murder. When they heard the sound, the 2 women had already fallen to the ground. There were 2 strong men on the other side. When I saw someone raising a knife again, I yelled and went over. The 2 men were not afraid of me. One of them came towards me, and the other wanted to attack the woman on the ground. I was carrying this guy. I struck first and injured the person holding the knife. He fell to the ground. At first, these 2 people may have regarded me as a normal passerby, right? Seeing this, they were a little surprised. Seeing me raise my hand again, that person grabbed his injured companion and ran away. I was about to chase him when a sleeve dart came towards me from the wall, and I narrowly avoided it. It looked like there were not 2 of them, but at least 3. Qi Wu asked, "This is no ordinary person." Duanmu Hui picked up a small dart from the table next to it, which was padded with cloth. "It's poisonous. It should be a killer. However, they seem to just want to look like ordinary robbers. Even the guy who took it is just," he pointed out. Looking at the corner, wooden stick and hatchet. "It didn't use much force, otherwise she would have died. But the little girl is dead." When you heard this, tears welled up in her eyes. She remembered that the little girl who accompanied Master Ching had small tiger teeth and loved to laugh. I was frightened and regretful for a moment, and choked with sobs. "It's all my fault. I obviously discovered the clues, but I was still careless." Seeing that Qi Wu felt distressed, he quickly held her shoulders and comforted her softly. "The matter is not clear yet, so don't blame yourself yet." Duanmu Hui looked at it and smiled to himself. "This Qi Wu looks like a human, and I heard he is quite capable, but how can he talk like a girl?" When you grabbed Qi Wu's arm, it must have been that day that she saw Master Ching, so she pretended to be sick to avoid it. I didn't realize it. I really thought she just happened to be sick." "You're talking about her?" Qi Wu narrowed his eyes. "When you said, he is obviously a killer, but he is such a powerful guy, but he only uses wooden sticks and hatchets. Master Ching is just an embroidery house manager, who can he offend?" There was silence for a while. Duanmu Hui continued, "Seeing that the woman was still breathing, I asked the soldiers to bring her back. The doctor beside me was more experienced in dealing with this kind of injury. That's why she was able to survive until now. Wen Yu wiped his tears and stood up. General Duan Muo, thank you for your life-saving grace. From now on, wherever we are needed, please give us your orders. Duan Muai nodded. Sit down. Her current condition makes it difficult to move, and if those people really want to kill her, it will be safer here. He looks very confident. Chi Wu said, thank you, General Duan Muo. This matter may really trouble you. You're welcome, Duan Muai said. Chi Wu turned to Wen Yu and said, Ayu, don't get excited yet. I seem to have heard you mention that Master Qing has a nephew. Wen Yu suddenly woke up. Yes, yes. Master Qing didn't go home, maybe he was going to his nephew's place. Do you know where he lives? I will pick him up personally, Chi Wu said. I don't know, Wen Yu said. Duan Muai said, it should be near Huishu Hutong in the east of the city. Wen Yu thought deeply, let me think about it. Li Zhang seems to have accompanied Master Qing there. He knows. Chi Wu said, then Zhang Qing and I will go find Li Zhang. There are also Zuzu and Lanzhou, we can't be careless now. Zuzu has been at the inn, and there is Mr. Hu. Wen Yu suddenly felt that Hu Fei was not useless. At least he could protect Zuzu. Lanzhou is at home, Laba, go and watch him. That old witch, Wen Yu thought about Tan's usual appearance. I'm afraid, she is used to using such methods, just to vent her anger and torture me. Several people have left, leaving only Wen Yu and Duan Muai. General Duan Muo, I'm so lucky to have met you. I don't even know what to say. Wen Yu seemed to have survived a disaster, and tears welled up in his eyes again. Perhaps it's fate, Duan Muai sat lazily, looking at Wen Yu impolitely. Do you know my second uncle? I know, Duan Muai smiled. I also recognize the princess. Although I don't know her well, I quite admire her. Before, I didn't want to have a deep conversation with the group leader. But today is different. I want to tell you, my second uncle is not the princess. My beloved. I also hope you can stop the marriage. Duan Mu listened very carefully, but did not take it seriously. He said very tolerantly, no one is a sage, can he make no mistakes after practice? In the future, he can just change. But dogs can't change their habit of eating shit, Wen Yu said angrily. Duan Mu laughed again. I'm serious. I'm afraid it will make the princess sad, Wen Yu said sincerely. But she is very happy now. No matter what choice a person makes, there are consequences that need to be borne. Even if she will be sad then, she cannot be stopped from being happy now just because that kind of thing will happen in the future. Wen Yu shook his head. As a common man, I can't understand what General Duan Mu said. Duan Muai, the princess has things she needs to bear. The same goes for your second uncle. By then, he will know what he cannot do. If he does it, he will bear the consequences. Okay, let's not talk about them anymore, you. He looked Wen Yu up and down and said, you are a pretty little woman. Who have you provoked? Don't tell me, I don't have such a manpower around me. General, when you arrange your troops and fight on the battlefield, although you know how to use strategies, what you do is above board, and you will be rewarded by the emperor, not like this, a rat in the gutter when you seem to hate something. I have never suffered such a big loss since my rebirth. Duan Mu had a look of satisfaction on his face. Little lady, what you said is exactly what I wanted. Finally, your help was not in vain. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 296. Chapter 296, Recalling Mr. Bai. After a while, Mu Bo came with Song Shang, followed by several people. "Cousin, when you stood up." Song Shang had a serious expression and said yes. "General Duan Mu, this is Song Shang, my cousin. He is also known as the loyal and diligent uncle." "Cousin, General Duanmu is the son of Princess Huijuan. It was he who saved Master Cheng." When you told Song Shang after that, her eye circles were red again, and she was very weak now. Song Shang bowed deeply. "Thank you, General, for your help." Duanmu sat motionless and nodded. Song Shang said, "I asked Dr. Huang to see the pulse record, and he said he couldn't take medicine rashly yet and wanted to come and take a look." When you looked at Duanmu, and Duanmu shouted, "Dr. Liang, show them." The servants surrounded the screen, and several doctors took a fancy to it. Song Shang did not ask Wenyu what happened, but said directly, "Is everyone else okay? Do you need to make arrangements? Cousin, is Zuzu at the inn today?" "Yes, Mr. Hu is here too just now," Song Shang just asked, but with Wen's reply, he knew that things were not simple. Wen Yu pointed at the arrow on the table and muttered something to him. Song Shang also picked up the dart with the cloth and looked at it, then smelled it. "Hey, you, who has Master Qing provoked?" Duan Mu looked at Song Shang and wanted to ask, what trouble did this person named Wen Yu cause? Who are the people around her? Song Shang looks unattractive, how could he even recognize this person? Wen Yu sat there, wondering, what an old witch. When she first got engaged to Wulang, MRSG told her about Tan's character and methods. Marry into the Qi family and meet her in person. Although there are many tricks, there is no stopping for a moment. But no matter how he moves, what is on his mind is nothing more than that. Crooked Qi Yi, let the biological children of the Northwest suffer hard. MRSG Qi and Qi Xiao repeatedly calculated themselves, and Suzhus, etc., all of them just set the way to the desire. Possibly also, bad-natured, narrow-minded, always wanting to make trouble and laugh at jokes. These are all understandable. But, she actually has such a person in her hands. Could it be Mr. Ho's manpower? Can't figure it out, so he said honestly, "Actually, I can't figure it out either. General Duan Mu, it's late at night. We have to wait for them to come back. If you want to rest, please feel free to do it." Duan Mu knew that when you wanted him to leave, but he was not happy. "I am involved in the matter, so I have to listen. Otherwise, can I bear it when I am stared at by such a killer for no reason? There are secrets that you don't want me to know." Then you wink and I cover my ears. When you said helplessly, "General, you are joking. You are experienced and can stay here to help us with our analysis. I really appreciated thinking of this guy's dirty name. You have to be careful not to offend him." The doctor had been discussing there, and Wen Yu was mostly occupied there. Song Shang struck up a conversation with Duan Mu. After a while, the two of them didn't know what business they were talking about at Duan Mu's residence. They were going back and forth with each other, which was quite speculative. After a while, Chi Wu came back. Behind him, Zhang Zhongqing and Li Zhang were supporting someone. When you heard the noise and took a few steps toward the door, he noticed that Chi Wu had a strange expression, and looked over again, saying "Huh." If the man in front of her wasn't dressed in men's clothing and accompanied by them, when you would really have mistaken him for Aunt Ziyun. She stared blankly, unable to react for a moment. Madame Yubai called her proactively, "It seems that my aunt is right. Yubai and Aunt Ziyun do look very similar." When you couldn't believe it, not only do they look similar, they even sound similar. Aunt Ziyun's voice was deep. Yubai's voice was rather clear and beautiful. Listening to his voice, I thought it was a young man who had just changed his voice. Chi Wu said, "Ayu, how is Master Cheng? Let Yubai take a look at her first." My cousin has brought the doctor and is still watching. Yubai was helped to Master Ching's side. He didn't cry, only a touch of sadness. He looked at her intently and gently smoothed the covering sheet with his hand. That scene was so poignant and beautiful that it moved everyone present. Song Shang said, "Let the doctors discuss it. Let's sit here and talk." Li Zhang supported Yubai and waited for everyone to sit down. Yubai solemnly thanked everyone, especially General Duanmu. Duanmu changed his lazy and generous attitude and looked at him curiously. This kind of person is really rare in the world. He was actually very polite. "You're welcome. Since your legs are bad, just sit down and talk." Yubai sat down, her long hair simply tied behind her back, her hands touching her legs, her back straight, looking indescribably good-looking. When you calmed down and said, "Last time, your aunt went to Qi Mansion, and she just told me afterwards that she saw Aunt Xiaoyun looked familiar, and she was afraid that she was an old friend of the Bai family, so she wanted me to help find out. But she no, you and Aunt Xiaoyun look exactly the same. How about, tell us what you know?" Yubai nodded, "Yes. I was not yet born when the Bai family was in trouble. My mother was pregnant with me and was locked up with several aunts. When my mother gave birth to me, she knew that my father and brother were no longer alive, she couldn't accept it and hanged herself. Everything I know is what my aunt said later. After my mother died, 3 aunts took me into a brothel. The 2 older ones, they did not commit suicide and suffered all kinds of humiliation just to raise me. When my sister-in-law reached the stage of pregnancy, the hospital gave her the medicine to prevent birth defects. Unexpectedly, after drinking it, her whole body became swollen and she was unable to speak. The boss thought she was going to die and threw her in the backyard to be pulled out by a car. A guest saw it and felt pity for her, so he bought her away with money. After a few years, she quietly found her back. At that time, she was already Boss Liu's concubine and was helping him manage the shop. When the 2 aunts saw that she had settled down, they asked her to continue taking care of me, then, they. He paused. These human tragedies came out of his mouth as if they were talking about other people's stories. Later, when I was 12 years old, I didn't want to be arranged by the brothel owner to pick up customers. So I jumped off the building, but I didn't die. He caressed his legs. The boss tortured and beat me, but I refused to obey. He endured it for a long time before he killed me. From then on, I played music, chess, calligraphy, and painting to entertain guests, and earned money for him there. The boss was very strict with me, although I made a lot for him, but I didn't have any money and couldn't leave the house. My aunt always secretly gave me money to maintain our relationship there, just to prepare for my escape one day. Later, I finally waited for Mr. Song to rescue me. Girl, when you and Mr. Song were so kind. Yubai knew in his heart that he only hoped to repay them in the next life. Song Shang nodded, "We are not outsiders, so we don't have to take these things to heart." Yubai looked at Wen Yu, "Our aunt and nephew met you, Miss Wen, because of the virtues of the Bai family's ancestors. In the past 2 years, my aunt's brows have relaxed, she loves to joke, and she has become much younger. Not to mention me. Last time my aunt came back and said that Aunt Xiaoyun in your house looks exactly like me. She suspected that it had something to do with the Bai family. But after analyzing it for a long time, I couldn't guess who this person was. I told my aunt that even if she has a relationship with the Bai family, given the current situation, there is no benefit in getting to know each other. Ask slowly and don't rush." My aunt also said that she would wait until she saw Mrs. Ho to see if she could think of anything. After everyone listened, they were silent for a while. Chi Wu said, "Aunt Xiaoyun is the old lady's natal relative. She entered the house when she was 6 or 7 years old. The old lady treated her well." When you nodded, my mother also said, "If the queen hadn't given her the marriage, My father would have probably married Aunt Ziyun. Yi Bai said, the Bai family was raided because they were suspected of collaborating with bandits. This charge is ridiculous. You must have heard of it, 11 Bai and Dong Hu. The Bai family accumulated huge wealth by relying on their endless skills. If you want, you can even become a high-ranking official. Chi Wu said, I know a thing or two about the smelting of the Bai family, including bows and crossbows. Also, my mother bought a piece of soft armor at a high price in the south. It is light, soft and invulnerable. It is produced by the Bai family. Duan Muwai couldn't help but touch the arrows in his sleeves that he would not take off even when sleeping. There was the word engraved on them. After hearing this, Yu Bai felt proud. So, how could the Bai family be colluding with bandits? Someone must be plotting. When Yu turned around in his mind, this technique seemed a bit familiar. Song Shang, who was sitting next to her, was also deceived in his heart. He framed bandits and tried to seize family property. Isn't this the method when you said before that Yang Xiangdong would use to harm me? Send it first and correct it if there are any mistakes. Too busy %. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 297. Chapter 297 Eye roll. Everyone in the princess's mansion was talking. Over there, Li Kun came to a small courtyard. Master, someone opened the door and let him in, shouting in a low voice. Li Kun frowned slightly and entered the room. There was also a smell of blood inside. Someone fell on the bed, breathing faintly. How did it happen? The person next to me handed over a small arrow and said, there was an accident. Someone passed by and intervened, then he briefly explained the process. Li Kun took it and took a look, frowning even more tightly. Can you find out who it is? No, the subordinate didn't dare to follow. The man refused to give up after hurting one of them and wanted to chase. The subordinate released a poison dart. He actually dodged it, his skill was very good. Then, he whistled, it seems there is someone else next to me. Li Kun gently threw the arrow on the table. The subordinate is incompetent, please be punished by the master. Forget it, I didn't expect it. Be careful in the future, his voice was a little dissatisfied. Yes, the subordinate responded in a low voice. As you said, even though the woman is not dead, she will probably survive it. I'll go around later and see if there's any news. If I have the chance, I'll do it again. But don't take any more risks. Yes. Li Kun walked out and suddenly thought, if you think about it carefully, there are a few things that have not been completed recently. The last time I Li Daniu's child, it didn't work. Later, the plot against the East Palace did not achieve the best goal. A few days ago, the easiest road to the Song family was also blocked. It's even better this time. He would miss an ordinary woman and even seriously injure his men. Am I having bad luck, or am I too old? He put on his black silk shoes and got into the car. Why was he still unconvinced? Old Dr. Huang, brought by Song Shang, walked up to several people. Fifth master. Everyone came back from their deep thoughts. Song Shang nodded. Say it. The old doctor looked solemn. Before, the doctors around the general handled the situation very well. If he were in the ordinary hospital, Master Qing would probably be dead. When you asked anxiously, how are you now? It's not certain yet. The brain was injured by a blunt instrument and is swollen. We have to wait until the swelling subsides before we can see. Whether the brain was damaged or not will not be known until the swelling subsides and we wake up. The on the shoulder will still be there even if it heals. The other impact is that if you lose too much blood, recovery will be very slow. The good thing is that the medicine brought by Master Wu has corresponding effects. It depends on the direction of the injury and Master Qing's own support. When you felt confused, Qi Wu patted her. After hearing this, Yubai put his hands on his knees and felt a little regretful. Although my aunt has hatred for the Bai family's past, she can let go of it because it is useless to dwell on it. But she always wanted to get married and have children, if this time. Song Shang nodded, okay. In the past 2 days, you will stay here and cooperate with General Duanmu's doctor. If you need any medicine or supplements, just go and get them. Yes, the old doctor stepped back. When you was troubled, I can't figure it out. The crime of the Bai family is a crime that can be eliminated by death. Even if there are descendants, they will not be implicated again. Everyone at home and outside knows that the old witch was born in poverty. Her open-mindedness is all on her face. How can she really not care about other people's contempt? If she really has a family like the Bai family, she won't show it off, but she won't risk keeping her mouth shut. Chi Wu agreed, that means she has other secrets. If Master Qing recognizes her, it will be very bad. Who is Ke Ziyun? Why does he look so similar to you? When you looked at Yubai? Yubai said, when the accident happened to the Bai family, my aunt was only 12 years old. She said that before, she spent the whole day studying homework and having fun. When the incident came, she realized that she didn't know many things. She couldn't figure it out. If that aunt has something to do with the Bai family, who would it be? Chi Wu said, Ayu, now we need to arrange the next thing. Song Shang nodded, yes, General Duanmu is here. It's not good to disturb him all the time. When Master Qing's condition stabilizes, we need to have a proper place. Chi Wu looked at Wen Yu, well, let me think of a solution. Ah Yu, what are your ideas now? Wen said angrily, let's take Yubai home and stand with Ziyun to see what explanation the old witch will give. Duanmu said, let me interrupt, the old witch you are talking about refers to Madame Ho, right? According to common sense, she should not have such people in her hands. Even if Zhen Yuanho did, he would not dare to let him go easily. This is what Wu himself is doing. If this really happens, if he stabs the emperor, the Marquis of Zhenyuan will be left with nothing to eat. Chi Wu nodded, my grandfather does not have such manpower. There will be guards and sergeants. Generally speaking, such killers, except. He did not say. Everyone basically understands that unless there are special people, for example, Lava next to Wen Yu, he is the grandson's person. Shang Shangke of Song dynasty was very rich, so he would raise some dead soldiers, but he did not dare to have too many, and they had to be well hidden. Husband, this reminds me. Yuan and I met the man in blue at Tianlong Temple. Master Sun said at that time, this person is extraordinary. Don't you also suspect that it was her handiwork? But how could a woman from a mountain village do this? Could it be that she had a background to save Mr. Ho? Chi Wu shook his head, that's not true. I know more about her rescue of grandfather. The people led by grandfather were ambushed and separated from his men. Only he and Zhang Huwei arrived at Niojia village by accident. Zhang Huwei died trying to save my grandfather. After the rescue, my grandfather saved the day, thanks to the old lady, so my grandfather has always respected her. Then go to Niojia village, Wen Yu said. Suddenly, someone at the door said, Masters and madams, Zhang Huayi is my grandfather. Everyone discovered that Zhang Yuan had been following Mu Bo for some time. Why should Ma follow? It turned out that Mu Bo was in touch with Zhang Yuan in Wei, and their relationship actually improved a lot, but at that time, Zhang Yuan, that brat, secretly took aim at Mu Ling. I just feel like this little girl has such a beautiful smile. It makes people see, no worries are gone. He himself thinks that he and Mu Ling are matched, they belong to the same family of guards. He fell in love with Mu Bo again. My wife has saved a lot of money, she is decent looking, and has some abilities, so she is worthy of Mu Ling. It's just, the man he was following was so disgusting. I don't want to follow him, but I can't get away from him. His father still doesn't understand him and always scolds him for being half-hearted and disloyal to the Chi family. He also analyzed it with him. The third master is a talented person and has a bright future. If you follow him, you will definitely be good. How come there is no difference? If a person like that has a future, God has no eyes for it. But with this alone, he didn't dare to open his mouth to ask for Mu Ling's marriage. If something happened in the future, he would bring trouble to others. However, once your heart is moved, how can you easily take it back? During these days, he was trying to flatter Mubo, always encouraging him to go to the store to see girls so that he could go along with her. After one more glance, Mu Ling becomes heavier in her heart, and as a result, she has a mixture of sweet, sad, and desperate emotions. He is an idler, and he is following Mubo today. But just now, when he heard people in the room mentioning the Chi family affairs, he felt a little regretful. He knew that this was not good. But Mubo didn't know how to turn around, and he didn't think of letting him avoid it. Now, when he heard everyone mentioning his grandfather, he could no longer hold back and spoke out. When you was surprised to see him. Oh my God, why did Mubo, this stupid boy, bring him here? What we said, let him know, there will be no small consequences. But, she rolled her eyes. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 298. Chapter 298 Beat him for me. Is it Zhang Vui? Her voice was warm. Song Shang, Zhang Zhangqing, and Li Zhang on the other side caught the change in her tone and looked secretly. What is she going to do again? Do whatever the wife wants, and she will never think too much about it. Duan Muai also felt a change in Wen's words, but he didn't know how serious they were. When I recall Mr. Bai, he looks like a blank piece of paper, without any sparkle at all. But it's not that he doesn't understand anything, he knows quite a lot, but he doesn't have the habit of speculating on these things. Madam, my subordinate is Zhang Yuan. Please come in. Zhang Yuan saw that the beautiful fifth wife was so kind, and then thought of Zhu's nostrils turned up, acrimonious, and cruel, and felt even more aggrieved. Why did I just follow such a thing? Stepping in, he felt a little at a loss. Subordinate, just stand and answer. Smiling warmly, Li Zhang, move a chair and put it there. Li Zhang quickly moved the stool. Zhang Yuan saluted and sat on the edge of the stool. Tell us again what you know. Yes. My grandfather has always followed the Marquis and went to many battlefields. The last time was to suppress bandits. At that time, he told the story of the war. Later he added, Master Ho was injured and could not move. My grandfather was fighting to the death outside. Even Mrs. Ho now held a hatchet and fought off the gangsters together, but my grandfather was too seriously injured. My grandfather was an only son, and his great-grandparents died early because of their sadness. My father had leg problems. Later, the Marquis helped my father read and write, found work for him in the house, helped him marry, and gave birth to my eldest brother and me. The eldest brother, also arranged by the Marquis, is an official outside. I have succeeded my grandfather. When you look sympathetic, my husband's generation has several brothers. Why didn't you follow others but Chiyu? Well, it is said that he is our third brother. Although we don't know each other very well, after all, he is fighting in the northwest and working hard for the Chi family. But, this guy has to pay attention to fate. When I see his appearance, his demeanor, and his eyes, I can't tell. Disgusted, so disgusting. Yes, it's disgusting. How could Zhang Yuan dare to say anything? He looked embarrassed and lowered his head. You have a good relationship with Mubo, right? Zhang Yuan nodded. Mubo people are very straightforward and good brothers. His parents are very talented in tracking and investigating cases. When you thought about it and left. The two people had to investigate everything about King Wu. The more capable you are, the stronger your character will be. So, I have decided to ask him to go to Nyojia village to investigate what happened back then. Since your grandfather is buried there, and my father has inconvenient legs and feet, my eldest brother has no time. You should take care of your grandfather's grave on their behalf. It is our family's wish to move my grandfather's grave back. However, the family situation is special, and my eldest brother has been discussing it with my father. I am in the northwest, and when I came back to the capital this time, I also mentioned it to my father, but my wife doesn't know. I really have the reason is that you can't help yourself. What if I have a way to arrange for you to go with Mubo? Zhang Yuan was overjoyed when he heard this. He raised his head and his face lit up. But immediately, the light went out again. He lowered his head again and said, "Madam, I understand your kindness. However, I'm afraid there are some things that you don't know. The third master will not let me go." He won't let go? There are so many things he wants to do and doesn't want to do. Why should everything go as he wants? That's because you don't understand him. If you want to touch me, you will definitely offend him. He won't care about brotherhood. Just thinking about it makes me sweat. Originally, we didn't have any brotherhood with him when you admitted openly. But you don't know that when the time comes, I won't be able to survive, and he will kill you. He is so cruel. Haha. When you smiled, General Duan Muo. I have heard of your evil reputation for a long time. You dared to kill your elders with a knife when you were 5 or 6 years old. Duan Muai was furious and said coldly, "I'm talking about bad things about your family. Why do you involve me?" His man's instinct was that this woman had no good intentions. "That's not what you're saying." "Today, no, it's all yesterday, when you looked outside, you were so close, that you capsized in the gutter. If there really was someone with 3 long and 2 short, I don't know how he died. Unjust or not. If you want to take revenge, you don't know who to turn to. Have you ever suffered this?" Several people looked at her with grins. Only Chi Wu was unhappy. "Isn't he okay? Why are you so concerned?" Duan Muai can't believe it. "You're still playing tricks on me with such a small trick? Mrs. Chi Wu, if you want to instigate, you might as well use some thought. Isn't this a bad way? Why should I instigate you? I am clearly targeting you." "You," Duan Muai said angrily. "What do you want to do? Hit him for me?" When you raised his eyebrows. Everyone was stunned. "This. I have a weakness, but the old witch doesn't have one. She's raising money in every possible way just for her children and grandchildren. Then I'll let her know that the fight may be in vain." Wen Yu's face was full of hatred. When Zhang Yuan heard this, he raised his head with hope. He was ready to fight. "If madam, you can really take me away from third master, then I will say. Why am I always idle? Because third master, he is not a good person, he is a devil." Everyone was stunned. Since he was 15 years old, he didn't dare to look at Wen Yu. He started to cause harm to women. At that time, I was still young, ignorant, and very scared. But with an identity like mine, I have to follow a master all my life. We are taught to be loyal from a young age. I don't want to do what third master wants to do, but I don't know what to do. Once, a girl secretly begged me, she was so pitiful, but I couldn't save her. I know that the third master is extremely dissatisfied with me, but I was sent to him by the Marquis. So, he just tried to make me make mistakes, beat me and punish me. Even once, when we were out, he set a trap for me to fall into, and they left." He smiled bitterly. "I almost froze to death. The hunter saved me. When I got back, I took the initiative to beg the Marquis, saying that I was not strong enough to protect the third master and wanted to return to Beijing to serve my father. In the end, maybe the Marquis heard something. I was punished lightly, but Mr. San was punished severely. After this time, he didn't dare any more, but just left me alone. I know too much, and he won't let me go easily. My fate will be severe disability or death. In these years, he has killed at least dozens of women. Some are girls, some are prostitutes, and some are married women with children. His methods are extremely ruthless. In front of you, I can't say more. In short, he is a devil. I can't say it, I'm almost choked to death. Everyone was stunned when they heard these things. Wen Yu's face turned pale, and she got goosebumps when she thought of the way he looked at her and teased Zuzu. So, he is not only disgusting, but also serious about it, right? Chi Wu patted her again to express comfort. When he arrived in the capital, he was honest for a while. Here, he made a small courtyard and asked me to clean it up. After cleaning it, he didn't let me go. I don't know what he was doing in it. I don't want to ask. How could there be such a person in the world? Wen Yu murmured. Yu Bai said lightly, there are quite a few people like this. How many has he seen? Does the Marquis know what he has done? Wen Yu asked. The Marquis probably doesn't know. I don't know about the third master. But the third lady knows, and she helped to take care of many of the funeral affairs. Over the years, there have been many local rumors about the disappearance of these women. But no one doubted Mr. San. He is handsome and from a good family background. There are skills in horseback riding, archery, and killing enemies on the battlefield. There are many women who like him, so I don't understand. As long as he waves, what kind of things can't be obtained? How could you do this? No one would believe it. When you sneered, it seems that the old witch has the same blood. Madam, please let me out. I want to go to Niojia village with Mubo. With the two of us as companions, we will definitely get to the bottom of the matter. When you nodded, I'll think of a way. I'm going to Niojiakan, and I'm going to Zijing too. Let's see what the origin of this Tan family is. When Zhang Yuan heard this, he burst into tears. Then you have to think of a good way. It won't look good if brothers fight for security. It won't look good if you say it out loud, and the Marquis won't accept it easily. As long as the thing can be done, I don't care whether it sounds good or not. I'm not the same as that bumbling old witch. Song Shang and Zhang Zhongqing shook their heads. They are different. When you looked at Duan Mu again and smiled, General Duan Mu, in fact, it is not difficult for us to beat that scourge. However, if we want to beat him upright in front of everyone, it is a bit difficult. How about it, just him? This is a public and private matter, why don't you fight? When several people heard this, they all laughed. So cruel, that's really worth a while. Duan Mu was also very annoyed. He had never let anyone scheme against him like this. The dart pricked his clothes. When he looked back, he saw it was still poisonous. He was quite frightened, he was really hurt, but he was going to suffer and be laughed at. After doing all this, it's already past the third update. There's no point in waiting here. Let's go to the guest room and rest. We'll check the situation tomorrow morning. That is to say, the princess's mansion is not small, so everyone went to have a rest. Wen Yu was alone in a room, sleeping in his clothes, but his dreams were messy and he couldn't sleep well. Chi Wu knew that she wanted to comfort him, but it was really inconvenient to be in someone else's house. The sky is bright and Wen Yu wakes up. Get up quickly, she only brought Laba and sent her to Gulanzhou. There was a sound at the door. It turned out that the princess had sent the girl next to her, and she also brought clothes, jewelry, makeup, and other things. The girl helped her wash up, had a quick bite, and then came out to ask. Everyone actually went out. She thought about it and went to see Master Qing first. The doctor said that the situation had not improved, but it was not significantly worse. When you went to see the princess and expressed his gratitude to her. The princess knew something about this and comforted her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 299. Chapter 299 I'm lucky. When I got up in the morning, there was news to MRS-10. Last night, the fifth master and the fifth grandma went out in a hurry and did not return all night. MS-10 became excited, that man's movements were so nimble. I didn't even care about the morning grooming routine and paced back and forth in the room. Having been worried for several days, I finally let go. If that person dies, there will be no evidence for his death. No matter how well spoken Wen is, he would never have imagined that such a thing would happen. This little girl dares to confront me. Do you think I have today for free? Killing two birds with one stone, isn't your shop awesome? Let me see how awesome you are. Yu Bai also said to Wen Yu, I'm afraid there will be chaos in the store for a while. It's good that I'm here. When the fifth master comes back, you can go to the store and take care of it. Wen Yu said, okay. The princess knows about this and has sent a steward. You can live in peace. If you need anything, just tell the steward. Everything is very good here. My aunt once taught me how to do work. I took apart the clothes, compared the sizes, and cut them. My aunt said it was not bad, but my experience may be a little less. How about you bring me some work? As long as you measure the size and write it carefully, I think it can be cut. When you was a little surprised, that's good. I'll bring some over in a minute and you can try it first. I should have received a lot of jobs before. Although there is a master with good tailoring skills, I'm worried that there will be so many jobs. All the pressure is on her. If she is too nervous, it will directly affect the quality. This is very possible. You can bring another embroiderer and someone who will help you. It's best to know the characteristics of the fabric. Also, you have to be strict. My identity, some customers may mind. Don't be too late, it's bad. The reputation of the store. Don't worry. Yu Bai, don't be too stressed in this regard. Yu Bai nodded but said nothing. I will let Li Zhang take care of the house where you live and the people you serve. The things inside will be moved to the courtyard where Master Qing lives first. In fact, I originally planned to let you move in with Qing after a while. We lived together with the master. This happened before we had time. Alas. Master Qing was lying quietly in a corner. He had used all the methods he could and could only wait. Qi Wei ran to find his grandson early in the morning. Tai Shun, something good has really happened to you. Mrs. Li is really not a boaster. She got the matter done in a few days. This is really an unexpected surprise. Just when I was happy, Qi Wu came. I told him what happened yesterday, focusing on the special nature of the killer and Duan Muwai's involvement. Taijun frowned and said, how can such a man deal with a garment master? Where can I start talking about it? This Master Qing is a descendant of the Bai family in Zhejiang. The grandson nodded, the Bai family, I really know a thing or two. Now, I still have things from his family in my hand. But after the Bai family was destroyed, all the secrets were destroyed. Some things can never be made again. Why, are there any descendants? Master Qing also has a nephew. That nephew was born after something happened in the family. As for who did it this time, it's just speculation now. Many things are still unclear, so it's hard to say clearly. Next, Au will arrange for someone to check. It's just that she is worried that people close to her will be implicated in this matter. Furthermore, if Master Qing recovers, plus this nephew, before the matter is resolved, there must be a proper place to place them. I have a private courtyard and a hot spring village in Hao'erhe. I can arrange it anywhere. Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you for what? Taejun was still very happy. Although Your Wenyu is a troublemaker, she has also accomplished a good thing. He suddenly remembered, go back and tell her that I will help her arrange these few things personally, just pay back the favor you owe her, and don't look for me again. Oh, I am so smart, I thought of this all at once. Debt-free and light-hearted. Then he ordered to go down and clean up both places in preparation for receiving people. After Chi Wu implemented the matter, he came back to discuss with Wen Yu. Wen Yu said, then let's go to Hao'erhe. Hot Spring Village is a bit far away. Yu Bai said he can help me with the work. Hao'erhe is convenient. No problem, Your Highness has already made arrangements. Then let's pick up Lanzhou now and let him stay in the inn for a few days. After Master Qing gets better, we can move to Hao'erhe with her. You have to tell His Highness that there may be people coming in and out. The two people talked as they walked and got into the car. When you didn't sleep well yesterday, and his eyelids were so sleepy that he started to fight. Chi Wu gently hugged her and held her in his arms, and she quickly fell asleep. Chi Wu looked at her, her lower eyes were a little blue, she looked good while sleeping, and his chest was full of love. After arriving at the place, Wen Yu went to Lanzhou's yard. Labo was sitting next to Lanzhou, and an old man was telling Lanzhou illusions. I don't know if he understood it, it was quite quiet. Wen Yu asked Laba softly, is everything okay here? Laba said, someone was hanging on the roof for a while last night and did not come down. I was worried that Master Lanzhou was alone in the house, so I didn't go out to look. Wen Yu cursed bitterly in her heart, thief and witch. Sure enough, it was right to let Duan Mu fight Chi Yu. I just hope he hits me faster and harder. Li Tan packed up Lanzhou's things, including pillows and quilts. Lanzhou accepted the new one and was still not used to it. Wen Yu made all the arrangements for the yard, and Lanzhou personally took care of Ping'an. Everyone had to help him bring various things for the turtle, and the group arrived at the inn. Song Shang came early in the morning to arrange various affairs. Especially here in Xiaolu, everyone knew that Master Qing was seriously injured and they were all a little panicked. Song Shang put Chen Wenhui and the embroiderer who had been following Master Qing in temporary charge. Chen Wenhui and Chen Wenhui didn't refuse. They stepped forward to arrange what they had to do today. Slowly, everyone settled down. By the time the warm words came, everything was already in order. Song Shang said, knowing that something happened to Master Qing, Hu Fei increased his manpower. My men were no longer needed, so he asked them to follow Zhang Zhongqing and Li Zhang. They went to the back streets, including Chi Yu's yard. Letting people follow them made me feel sad. It can also be more practical. When you nodded gratefully, thankfully, my cousin is here, everything is arranged so well. Come on, when will Mubo and the others leave? It doesn't take more than a few days, we still have to find a suitable time. My husband has already found a place to house them, it's in Taejun's courtyard in Hao'erhe, now it's all about the store. When you thought about it and felt worried and worried. I'll do more in the next few days. Song Shang said, you don't have to worry about this. If you can't handle it, just take less. Just don't mess up the original order. We don't expect this at all. Having said this, Wen Yu could only nod. When Shizu heard Wen Yu coming and hurried over, Yu, Hu Fei followed closely behind her. When Yu reached out to pull her, Zuzu. How is Master Qing? Zuzu asked, both of them had red eyes. It's hard to say now when you didn't hide anything from her. Hu Fei said, I have a doctor and medicine in my hand, let them take a look. Thank you Mr. Hu. The doctors now are good and the medicines are complete. But she still has to rely on herself and luck. Just tell me when you need it. After Hu Fei said this, he stood aside to talk to Chi Wu and Song Shang. Wen Yu and Zuzu were both a little sad. Master Ching has followed us all the way, and we are all family members. Yeah, brother Songwu came to talk about it today. I'm so sad. Zuzu, let Mr. Hu follow you for the next few days. At night, you ask him if he has any female guards. If not, I will take Laba. No, 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 Guyu has made all arrangements at the inn. When you then thought about what Song Shang said, anyway, be careful, don't trust others easily. Let him follow you wherever you go. Yes. I understand. Ah you. When Shizu turned around and turned his back to the three men who were talking, I didn't tell you that day, Guyu said that he liked me and wanted to marry me. He said that he would only like me in this life and treat me well for the rest of his life. If I want to, let me work with him to convince my father. Ayu, do you think it's okay? Zuzu, you have to ask yourself, do you like him? I don't know either. Guyu is very smart, knows everything, and knows a lot. She is also very patient. Sometimes, my dad still laughs at me, but he doesn't. Now he can make more snacks than I can. All good. I seem to be used to having him around. That day, Mr. Shi had something to do and asked him to go out for a long time. As a result, I shouted Guyu many times. Not hearing his answer, I felt a little empty. I told my father about this, but he was still not happy. After speaking, she stuck out her tongue. Zuzu, you definitely want to get married, then think about it. Is it better to marry a stranger you don't know yet, or marry him? I won't marry a stranger. Just. When Shizu felt a little awkward. How? I still remember when you told me about the letter written by Yang Rishi and Mrs. Mu, I cried. I felt that Yang Rishi and Mr. Hu were both so pitiful. I also felt that he was so good to Yang Rishi, such a beautiful feeling, very enviable. But, that's someone I don't think has anything to do with it. If he still has Yang Rishi in his heart, I won't be happy. Ah you, Yang Rishi is really pitiful, shouldn't I think so? You are right to think so. If you feel that Mr. Hu is not bad, just tell him directly. If he still has Yang Rishi in his heart, then you will not succeed. I know, Wen Shizu agreed. While I'm away, watch Dion Lanzo. There are many people in the inn, so don't let him go out. Okay, I will tell Guyu and let him handle it. When you smiled secretly, there are really 3 words that cannot be separated from Guyu. He asked Chen Wenhui to come up with a few pieces of work to do, and took an embroiderer and a little girl to drop them off at the princess's mansion, and then returned to the mansion. In the car, Wen Yu said, there is 5th brother in the restaurant, cousin in the embroidery shop, and Zuzu in the dim sum shop, and you, brother Zhang Qing, Li Zhang, Laba, even Hu Fei, the incomprehensible grandson, and the new acquaintance Duan Muo. It's all good. I'm lucky. I am the most important and the best. Chi Wu hugged her. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 300. Chapter 300, Teaching a Son Again. When I got home, no matter how tired I was, I had to tell my mother-in-law about this first. MRSG actually listened silently without breaking the nest. Then, she thought about it carefully and said, is Master Ching assassinated because he knew the details of the Tan family? In other words, this old witch has doubts about her life experience. Is there a place where you can't see the light? When you somewhat admired her mother-in-law, mother, you can grasp the key points very well. MRSG smiled lightly. Although I am very sad that Master Ching is injured, I have to say that if this can reveal the truth that I didn't dare to think about before, then I will be so happy. It's Princess Huijuan home. Yes. Next, we will investigate. Mother, when my grandfather brought the Tan family back, the guard Zhang who was beside him died outside. Now, his grandson, look at me, I forgot to tell you something. It's so disgusting. When you told MRSG about Chiyu again. MRSG received too much news today, which she never dared to think about before. Blinking his eyes, he looked at his son and his wife. Suddenly she smiled. Sure enough, he has the same blood as that which this part can be revealed first, right? MRSG's eyes flickered. Mother, Zhang Yuan is an upright person, and I still want to use it. That yard is rented in his name. Now, if anything is found there, the devil will most likely pass it on to him. So, I still have to make some calculations. Ayu, you have arranged everything very well. That which likes to use heartbreaking methods the most. I will ask your uncle tomorrow if he has suitable guards and find a few more for you. I'm so tired. All right? Go back and rest. After Wen Yu and his wife left, MRSG asked her to stay close to her mother-in-law and went to the front to find Qi Xiao. Uncle, Madam explained that I have to go back to my parents' house and take some things back. I originally asked the fifth master to accompany me, but the fifth master is not free. Ask if you have time. The woman was not polite when she spoke. Qi Xiao was very angry. He asked himself to accompany him because he had no time. But now, out of anger, he still nodded in response. Early the next morning, Tan's people did not find out any more news. She couldn't help but wonder that Yeta Pianza could still keep her composure after such a big thing happened. She hasn't heard from Li Kun yet. Generally speaking, Li Kun would not contact her easily. Wen Yu and Chi Wu went out early again and went to the princess mansion first. The doctor said that Master Shang Qing had a high fever last night, but it seems to have subsided a little today, and everything is not too bad. There are many people in this room and it is not suitable for raising a general. Master Qing has been moved to a small room next to it. In the big room, a big case was set up, and Yubai was already working here. Next to it is a rack made of woven rattan, with prototypes of clothes hung on it, pinned with various small pins. Thinking of yesterday, Zuzu told her that Hufei was also so skillful. When you couldn't help but sigh, Don Hufei and 11 Bai are really well deserved. Yesterday Zuzu said that Mr. Hu can make snacks that even she can't compare with. Looking at you today, it's really unbelievable. Although he is smart and knowledgeable, how come he is so skillful with his hands? It seems that wisdom is connected, one-sided and multifaceted. Yubai smiled. Actually, it's not that mysterious. Take me as an example. Some places are very smart, and some are very clumsy. The various emotions I experience are also narrower than others. You are very good. Mr. Hu was so excited by the death of the leader, Mrs. Hu, that he was confused for a while. He was living on the street and became a beggar, and it was Zuzu and the others who saved him. Mr. Hu was born with success, so he must be weak in endurance. He looked outside. My temperament is not open-minded. It's just that I have to adjust myself. Okay. Don't think about the past. Look at me, everything is going smoothly now, right? But can you imagine what life was like when I was a child at home? Yubai smiled. Okay, let's not talk about it. Look at this. When you lingered here for a while and then left with Chi Wu. When MRSG brought Qi Xiao in, she saw a man sitting on a high stool. She has long, extremely black and smooth hair, tied around her neck with only a cloth rope. He has 2 long eyebrows, his eyes are lowered and he is looking at something on the table. His eyes are covered with hair, and he is doing something in his hands. His expression is focused and quiet. Wearing an ordinary cotton robe, the white neck is exposed at the collar. MRSG and Qi Xiao who were following behind her suddenly fainted. Qi Xiao, especially, returned the favor. Yubai heard the sound and turned his head to look, his eyes shining like an autumn pool. Mother. Qi Xiao pointed stupidly. MRSG ignored him and came in and asked softly, are you Master Qing's nephew? Yubai put down the things in his hands. Is this MRSG? I'm sorry that Yubai has inconvenient legs and feet and can't stand up to salute. Madam, please don't blame me. His voice. No wonder, MRSG was very excited. With a smile on his face, he pulled up a stool and sat down. Even if I heard you talking about it yesterday, I never thought. I came without saying anything to you. Don't blame me for being abrupt. Yubai smiled lightly. You're welcome, madam. MRSG was so happy, thinking about how she would slap that dog man in the face when the gloom in her heart was lifted. This feeling is really indescribably beautiful. Are you helping the store? Yes. My aunt is injured, and I'm afraid the business in the store will be affected to a certain extent. I want to do something within my power. MRSG nodded in approval. Okay, thank you for your help. We just met the doctor in the corridor and we took a look at Master Cheng. My brother, who travels a lot, has told the doctor that he needs medicinal materials from all over the country. Why make a list for me? Thank you, madam. We are all our own, don't be polite. You are really just like that person. MRSG sighed. Yubai was also a little moved in her heart. Madam knew her life experience, but she could still say such words. That silly boy Chi Xiao, no one paid attention to him, so he looked Yubai up and down endlessly. Why are there such similar people in the world? Mom, he and Aunt Xiaoyun are twins, right? He asked stupidly. MRSG turned back and glared at him. Don't talk nonsense. They just look alike. How can Yubai's demeanor and temperament be matched by that person? Chi Xiao didn't take it seriously when he was scolded. He was simply too surprised. MRSG said a few words to Yubai and then took Chi Xiao out. The two of them were sitting in the princess's garden, basking in the sun. This is a rare act of closeness between mother and son. Chi Xiao, I will tell you the story today. It's up to you to believe it or not. MRSG told what happened to Yuan. How can Chi Xiao be trusted? But now he didn't dare to scream, nor did he dare to walk away, nor did he dare to let his mother see his disbelief. If it weren't for something would have happened to Yuan. How could you, my mother, have the honor to be alive? We wouldn't have died on the spot. Mother. Chi Xiao was greatly shocked when he heard this sentence. Chi Xiao, it's true that I hate the old lady, and it's true that I hate your father and Aunt Xiaoyun, but no matter what, the three of them together can't compare to Yuan. I won't use Yuan's safety and reputation to attack them. Mother, my son knows. You are very proud and would not do such a thing. Chi Xiao agreed. What happened this time started when Master Saiking came into the house, then MRSG told the story again. Afterwards, when you came to ask me, but Aunt Xiaoyun has always been a thorn in my side, and I don't know much. So the two of them discussed that if they had a chance to see Tan, they would know if she was an old member of the Bai family. As a result, Mr. Tan did a good job and got a large group of people waiting for Master Ching to come and measure the clothes. Suddenly, she became ill, and she didn't even see her. Just in time, he left the mansion mysteriously, and then Master Ching, you just saw it? But mother, she is a poor girl, how can she have such a manpower? She was the one who saved my grandfather when he was injured in a small mountain village. That's right. When you and the others will continue to investigate. What Tan is most concerned about is the title and property of the Qi family. I guess your grandfather planned to hand over the title to Qi Yuduan. The Tan family handed over most of the family's property to Qi Hua. Yes. Your father will be fine if he has Aunt Xiaoyun. But what do you have? Chi Xiao's mind was in a state of confusion. Yes, he could see it these days. He had nothing in his hands. I called you to see all this today because I want to tell you that my mother and she have had an undying hatred since she touched Yuan. Moreover, it has turned from dark to bright. You have had a deep relationship with her since you were a child, and you can't bear it. If you think of the worst, it's because you are kind and righteous, but if you think about it badly, it's because you are stupid. However, after all, you were born to your mother in 10 months of pregnancy. Your mother will not embarrass you or let you choose sides. However, you have to be careful. She has always been murderous. If she needs to hurt you to hurt me, she will not be lenient. Chi Xiao said sincerely, Mother, if what you say is true, of course my son will stand on your side without hesitation. Okay. Let's go back to Kui's house later and let your grandfather find an excuse for you to get out of here. What about Minghui? Chi Xiao was still thinking about his wife. Little Bao, I will think of a way to let her and Yuan go together. Okay, let's go. MRSG smiled secretly, MRS Su. I'm not a bad person. I'm so tired, I want to take a rest.